So hello friends. So today I'll be doing this 14th journal update. Again, it's a very small mini update. So I'm just talking about one article which came just around 2 days back on 12th May 2020 in JAMA Internal Medicine. Again, looking into the prognostic markers in COVID because we are at a phase in our country where the surge may possibly happen. And when the surge happens, it is important for us to recognize what are the alarm indicators that we should take note of. And interesting thing about this article that has come is this is the article is they have created an online calculator. So that I thought was useful for all of us to be aware. And many of the hospitals possibly could use this online calculator to determine whether the COVID patient that is admitted would possibly become sick or critical, needing ICU or other advanced supportive measures. So, the title of this article is Development and Validation of a Clinical Risk Score to Predict the Occurrence of Critical Illness in Hospitalized Patients with COVID 19. So, this article looked into patients from 575 hospitals. So, this was predominantly in China. So, they took these hospitals, they took the data of these patients, and they did the scoring mechanism. So, what they did was they did a statistical modeling with lasso and logistic regression to determine the predictive risk score. So, this score is to ascertain the patients who would possibly get sicker or who would need ICU care or who are at a high risk of dying or who would need ventilation. So these were the indicators that were tried to look into to determine whether a score can be built. So the score was called COVID Gram score. So the accuracy of this score was determined by area under receiver operating characteristic curve. So they had to obviously make sure that the statistical modeling that they have created achieves good ROC for it to be validated. So this study data was analyzed between 20th February to 17th March 2020. So the endpoint they looked for as a predictive score is a composite of critical illness. The composite of critical illness could be any of these, any patient who would be predicted to need ICU admission, or any of the patients who would be predicted that they are at a higher risk of dying, or any of the patients who are at a higher risk of needing mechanical ventilation. So this was the composite endpoint that they looked into. So the background of this study is as of 16th April 2020, there are around 2 million COVID patients worldwide. And the worldwide, when they looked at mortality of COVID, initially, friends, if you remember the earlier data that emerged from China, the presentations that I would have made in the initial COVID update, the mortality was touted to be around 3 to 4%. But if you see the worldwide mortality now, it has slightly increased, 6.57%. And what it has also been mentioned is critical illness mortality is up to 49% in severe COVID patients who need ICU care. So which means our ICU mortality in these patients still remains very high. So which is another important alarm to keep in mind and take measures so that these patients don't go into ICU. That has been our ongoing rhetoric, that try to pick up these patients early, take measures so that you prevent further down spiral needing ICU care, because once they go to ICU needing ventilation or any other organ support, then the mortality would be very high, so up to 49%. So in the results of this study, the mean age of the patients was 48.9 years. And as you see, time and again, all the studies in the past also have shown that males tend to get more affected with COVID than females. And so is the case here. 57.3% of the population was males. So they took 1,590 patients in this study to build a predictive model, the predictive score to determine the severity of COVID. And if you see in the 1,590 patients, 98.5% had only very mild clinical presentation. And severe presentation needing ICU care was only 1.5%. So typically the narrative that we have given is 80% would remain asymptomatic, 15% would have some symptoms needing hospitalization, and 5% needing ICU. But if you look at this data, the severity is pretty low, it's at 1.5%. But what is also mentioned is this is at the time of presentation, but after the present they can progress. 8.2% was the occurrence of severity of illness, which means these patients continue to progress to become more sicker. So although at presentation they may be less sick, so patients who have presented otherwise okay, they tend to become sicker. So 8.2% is the percentage of patients who get sick needing ICU. So which means that stats of 5% has actually increased to 8.2% is the percentage of patients who would eventually need ICU. And mortality in these 1590 patients they looked at was only 3.2%. Although you see the worldwide mortality is around 6.57. This is Chinese data. The mortality, the overall fatality rate was 3.2%. So when we look at the symptoms, again 88 predominant symptoms in this COVID presentation was fever. 88% had fever, 70.2% had dry cough, 42.8% had fatigue, 23.7% had short of breath. So when they have short of breath, obviously they need hospitalization, and some of these patients may progress to getting a lot more sicker, needing ICU. So 23.7 were short of breath. And this is a staggering number. 71.1% of the COVIDs presenting to hospital had abnormal CT. So, and we have realized that CT is a good tool to pick up, the lung findings or the lung abnormalities much earlier than their clinical manifestation or X-ray. So I think that we have realized from the review of the previous studies as well. And this is an interesting bit. Comorbidities, 25.1% of these 1590 patients had comorbidities. That's close to around 400 had comorbidities. Hypertension was the leading comorbidity. 16.9% had hypertension, 8.2% had diabetes, and cardiovascular disease was present in 3.7%. I think this data also is pretty similar to the already published data that has come in multiple papers. Okay, I think this is an important table to look at. So they did a multivariate regression analysis to look for odds for patients getting critical. And if you see age, even the previous study which had come in Lancet some time ago, there also the emphasis was given to the age. So age becomes an important prognostic indicator about patients who possibly will get sicker needing ICU. So age was an important indicator of someone who is vulnerable to become critically unwell. And this was a new one which I found. Patient presenting with obtundation or unconsciousness, they had a very high odds ratio of having a composite endpoint of getting getting to ICU or getting on a mechanical ventilation or dying. So someone who comes with obtundation with COVID positive, they had a higher odds of getting more sicker. And this is also a new thing. Hemoptysis also carried a high odds of them getting sicker, dying, or needing mechanical ventilation. And the interesting thing that I saw in this paper was the addition of cancer history. If a patient has had a history of cancer, that increases their risk of dying or going on a mechanical ventilator in COVID patients. So these three had a very high odds of them getting much sicker. So the cancer, patient presenting with unconsciousness or hemoptysis. And abnormal chest X-ray also had a high odds of them becoming sick. So if you had a chest X-ray which showed opacity, then we need to have a more vigilance in these patients, because there is going to be a tendency for them to down spiral and worsen. And comorbidities. So the more the number of comorbidities they have, the higher would be the risk of them getting unwell. Now that is another one. And they looked at dyspnea. So someone presenting with short of breath, they also have a higher odds. So they have looked at 10 variables which had an independent correlation with bad outcomes. So this is possibly the seventh one. And they looked at neutrophil lymphocyte ratio. So I think for all the listeners, I need to little emphasize on this neutrophil lymphocyte ratio. So we have reviewed the previous papers and the cutoffs for neutrophil lymphocytes. So what we need to understand is, the higher the neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, it indicates that they have more lymphopenia and worse would be the outcome. So the higher the NLR ratio, bad it is. So when I reviewed the literature, we were looking at what is the cutoff to say that lymphopenia is bad enough to cause bad outcomes. So we took as less than 10% as a reasonable indication to say that lymphopenia of less than 10% is a serious marker of severity of COVID. So when you extrapolate to NLR, we came across various ratios. Some of the ratios said 6, 6.5, and then we looked at a recent paper which looked at 3.5. But then when we started doing rounds in our district hospitals, most patients had NLR more than 3.5. So this paper possibly gives us an answer. They took an NLR of 17.1 was the threshold at which they had a higher odds of getting sick, needing ventilation or dying or going to ICU. So I think that is the ratio possibly we should be adopting now. So NLR ratio of 17 as a cutoff or maybe 15 as a cutoff may be reasonable to say. If NLR is more than 17, then absolutely we are sure that these patients have a higher vulnerability to get much sicker. So, and that had a statistical significance. And LDH, I'm sure many of you must be wondering. See, we had patients whose LDH, if you take 250 as a normal LDH level, so what would 280 mean? What would 300 mean? So we were just taking high LDH, okay, he may have a bad outcome. So here they've indicated a number, 480 and above is the number where they had an odds of getting sicker, needing mechanical ventilation or dying. So we could possibly adopt these numbers, and these numbers have been incorporated in the online calculator. We don't need to necessarily remember any of these numbers. We can simply log into this online calculator, feed in the numbers, and that calculator will give the moderate risk or high risk of this patients. I'll show you that calculator. And another new thing is they included bilirubin. So higher bilirubin also had a higher odds of getting unwell. So the essence of this paper which came in JAMA Internal Medicine is basically this table. So they did a multivariate regression analysis in 1590 patients and picked up the variables which had an independent correlation with poor outcomes. When we say poor outcome, it was a composite endpoint of patient needing ICU admission, patients dying, or patients needing mechanical ventilation. So from this table, the three indicators which had a higher odds was someone who is presenting unconscious or hemoptysis or who's had a cancer history. And the other 2 points worth noting is the NLR ratio, which the threshold is put up at a much higher level, 17.1. So we can remember 17 and LDH at 480. So this is the table that I was mentioning. So as you see, NLR ratio, if you see 17.1 is taken as a ratio where they become critically unwell, and 4.3 it was not associated with a bad outcome. So I think the 3.5 we should remove it from our algorithm and we should put it up at NLR ratio of more than 70 if you have to subscribe to this study. And if you see LDH, they have put a level of 480. So this is my last slide. So I would urge all the listeners to log in. So if you open this paper, in the first page there is this link given in the abstract. If you just press this link, this is an online calculator that will open up, or you can directly cut paste this what is mentioned above. So this you can just cut paste in your in your Google, and this calculator will pop up. So here I've just arbitrarily put, say I put X-ray abnormality yes, I put age as 60, I put hemoptysis not there, because the rounds we have been doing for district hospitals, I have not heard anyone presenting with hemoptysis. So dyspnea is something that would be present, I put S. Unconscious I put no, because most of our patients, I have not come across any patient who has presented with unconsciousness. A number of comorbid is very common. All the patients we see above 50, 60, they have diabetes or hypertension. So I put a 2. I put patients having 2 comorbids. And cancer history I have not come across many, so I put no. And NLR for just arbitrarily I put 18, more than 17. And LDH I put 480. And bilirubin, we have seen some patients with marginal elevation of bilirubin, I put it at 2. So just by putting this, you will see you will get a total point, and you see the risk group, it says high risk. So which means to say, what it is capturing in this calculator would be predominantly the age. It has taken comorbidities and NLR and LDH. With that, it has come to a conclusion that it's high risk. So again, it goes on to emphasize age becomes an important factor, comorbidities which we see, NLR ratio and LDH. And surprisingly, the listeners would be wonderstruck why D-dimer is not there, which even I was perplexed, because this paper did not mention anything about D-dimer having a independent correlation with mortality. But we leave that aside. So I would say for all the district hospitals where we are doing rounds for anyone, this can be a reasonably good screening tool. You can use this calculator. You don't have to remember any of the values. Just put in the values you see, and it will give you whether your patient is a high risk. Then obviously when you have high risk, you just follow my protocol. There is a high risk protocol of the drugs to be given and the test to be followed. And if it is a low risk, medium risk, then you have a protocol what need to be followed. So it's a useful paper for everyone. More so, I believe this paper will be very useful for India post 17th when we go for a surge. It is extremely important that we identify these patients very early on, take necessary steps to prevent them from going into ICU, because we have realized Once they go into ICU, you're talking about mortality up to 49%. And if they go on a ventilator, then God only save them, because mortality is up to 90%. So this tool may be important. So I have circulated this calculator to all my district hospitals. So hopefully they'll start using it. So I would urge others also to start using this. It may be useful at least to stratify our patients. So thank you. I'll end with my last slide. Thank you. And if there's any question, you can visit my website www.drpradeeprangappa.com to re-listen and rehear to this lecture. Thank you.